Sleeves here with the Senior Pickleball Report powered by TNC Network. Let's get it going. Today we have an interview with Mark Milner. He is a touring senior / Champions Pro player. He is a member of the OKC Punishers as well as their general manager. But before we get started, if you like this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out our links in the description for discounts on paddles and shoes. Check out our socials. And hey, subscribe to our newsletter, all this below. Let's get to that discussion with Mark Milner. Mark Milner, welcome to the Senior Pickleball Report. He is the player and general manager of the OKC Punishers of the newly formed National Pickleball League, which has its second event July 1st and 2nd in Kansas City at the Chicken and Pickle. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here.
So let's, I start with everybody. Obviously, what's happened to this crazy wiffle ball game over the last few years, I don't think anybody saw, coming. And you, like all of us, have been swept up in it and are playing now at a professional level in a professional league. Talk about how this sport, kind of infiltrated your life.
Yeah, it is crazy. I was just thinking about my conversation with Tyson McGuffin about 7-8 years ago, and he was a kid that was 10 when I taught him tennis, and I kept a good relationship through the years. And I happened to go visit him and play a tennis tournament, and all he could do was talk about pickleball. And this is 7-8 years ago. So this is when you just didn't hear much about it. And
right.
So I'm in this dome of mine that I just sold my club here this January, but of 27 years I built this my fabric building here, and it was a dream to cover some tennis courts, and I just did that about 7-8 years ago. And here's Tyson now telling me, hey, yeah, you can play tennis, but why don't you try pickleball out too? And and so I kind of came in reluctantly a little bit, but all it takes is just a few sincere, efforts to play the game. And it wasn't long until I was hooked. And just at the period of time in my life back then, I wasn't able to go full board. But when COVID hit, and I was an athletic director at a high school and was released of that job, and just shut down here in Washington State a lot. That's when I really started taking off and playing more pickleball and tournaments. And quite honestly, it was the people that I met through the game and my competitors, and it was unlike any of my tennis experiences. But people like Matthias and Paul Olin and
right
on and on that have been so encouraging that I haven't looked back since.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the relationship you have with Tyson and who Tyson has become in the world of pickleball. I mean, arguably, he's the most recognizable face, if not one of the most recognizable faces in professional pickleball. And you obviously are now working and coaching under the banner of his camps and clinics. So talk a little bit about your philosophy that you bring, as well as mixing that with Tyson's, and what you kind of do when you organize a clinic or a camp for people, and what's kind of your foundation and your underlying philosophy.
Well, number one, and Tyson does that amazingly. Yeah. His ability to not be about him and to be solely about the clients and the participants of learning pickleball. And so his innate ability to connect, to remember their names, and to pour himself into the camps hasn't changed through the years. I mean, his rise to stardom and the most dynamic man, or what's the slogan?
Something like that. The most dynamic person in sports, I think, is what was said at one point. Not just pickleball.
Right. But it hasn't changed him. And what I have seen in his philosophy in his camps and through his whole staff is it's about building the game of pickleball and the love for he has for others. And so the philosophy that I've learned from that is, it's very easy to get up there in front of people and just talk about yourself. Yeah, back when I first started playing pickleball, I did this tournament and that, and actually, some people want to hear that about Tyson and stuff, but mostly they want to just play the game and get better at it too.
Yeah.
And so that is what he does so well, and what I try to bring in. And I think one of the things that, and he has a couple of senior pros players that help in his camps. They're not all young pros in there, but he's got a couple old guys, and and
Hey.
and exactly. And I think we relate to that big demographic of the pickleball players. It's like, hey, yeah, that shot looks like it's something you can do in your 20s, but in your 50s, I think we just bring a balance to that. And the other thing is, I just think we're in a period in our life in the 50s that, we are just so grateful to get those kind of chances and
Right.
to participate and be around the game and the pros like that. Honestly, every moment I get on a stage with Tyson or in a big tournament, it's just like pinch me moments. It's like, is this really happening? And if you just look back the last 6 months of things that has happened too, I'm just so grateful. God has blessed me in so many different ways, but just to have the opportunities to connect with people and to, and to be on your show and others to just tell about this great game.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like, I've watched a ton of Tyson's videos, and what he's done is he's built a culture that is really relatable to people. And you and people like Kyle, he attracts good, solid, quality people. So now that you're in a new culture, another culture, the senior/champions tour and NPL, National Pickleball League. For those people that, and I've mentioned this almost in every interview I do with somebody who's 50 plus playing pro ball, is if you watch as much as I do and consume as much pickleball as I do, especially at the 50 plus age, you realize that it is a tight community of people. They compete hard, they play really hard, but at the end of the day, if you follow any of them on social media platforms, it's a pretty tight knit group, and it's fun to see that at the end of the day, people are still friends and people are still hanging out and enjoying each other's company. So let's talk a little bit about NPL and talk about the OKC Punishers and coming into that culture, because those who play on the pro tour, that is expanded now to 6 teams in a large group of players, and it's going to keep expanding. So talk about that culture and being part of that.
Well, yeah, that's when Rick Witzkin kind of, gave me a little nugget of the idea of what was happening last December, and talked to me about there's something coming, and didn't really let me know much, but now that it's unfolded, and they blew it out of the water here the first NPL weekend. I mean, just I kind of feel bad for the senior pros that are sitting on the sidelines just kind of watching it this year, because they know they're missing out on something incredible. I mean, it has just blown off the expectations of the senior pro. So, to have that and as successful as that, but the whole part of that, that culture of the team, I'm on my team, OKC teams, there's 3 ex-professional tennis players, and I'm now rubbing shoulders with them. I get to play with them sometimes, and it's just, that is mind-boggling to, 30 years ago, they were top players in the world and traveling the world playing tennis. And now I'm on their team, and they're into my match and I'm into their match, and we're just developing friendships, and our owner, Carol and Doug, have done such an amazing job of building this team that goes beyond just how well we do on the court. And it's just the relationships and the foundation that she's building for this team has been incredible. So, so when you say yes, about that difference, I would say, what it was 30 years ago, and the testosterone levels are not so high now, and just
right.
We see a bigger picture with the players in the game, and it is, don't get me wrong, we're all wanting that championship weekend in October, and we're all setting our sights on it, and we're doing the best we can to get there, but in the meantime, I just think all of us are in this place of gratitude in our life, that we have our health, we have an opportunity to play pro on a team. And so I just think it doesn't take us long to just go, wow, this is something special, and we should really just stop and enjoy this for a little bit longer.
Absolutely. I think the fact that senior pros are taking care of senior pros is a great example for those who are coming into the sport and have aspirations to play professional pickleball, and being treated like professionals that you are. People that I've talked to besides yourself who are involved with the league, I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that, like, we are treated like professionals, and we are treated with respect. And we have a community now of our own that we can build upon. And obviously, this is just the beginning. There will be changes that happen. There will be more teams coming along and more opportunities for more people to enter that community. Let's talk about your role, though, with the team. Obviously, you're a player and a GM. So what are your duties as far as being a general manager goes? Because you're the first general manager I've spoken to in the league. I've spoken to owners and players, but the first GM will be you.
Well, I think we're, talking to Beth and Rick and Michael as founders, and then you got other owners, and now I'm a GM. I think we're all just trying to figure this roadmap together, and that's been kind of the big emphasis, to just, hey, let's get through this first year. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
And so, is there a real defined thing that I do, with Carol, not really being a part of the senior tour and not knowing some of the players and things. I think I can help out with that, but I think my role is kind of, trying to figure out lineups a little bit, and stuff that I can kind of help, things that she and she's a busy woman as well, and we all kind of have our own lives as well going forward. But that role is not the most defined, but I think all the owners and the founders are finding that out too.
Right.
Is that we're all in new territory now, and it's exciting just to see it change. But you know what? Pickleball is still kind of new territory too, and it's still changing, and Duper still changes, and everything else. So I think if just being alongside Carol and the other players, teammates, and just navigating through the season, and just make it the best possible experience for the league and the players.
New paddle company, Pickle, PCKL, great paddle line, great price points. Anything you want, from starter paddle to intermediate to a pro series high level paddle. Check them out. Get 15% off using my discount code. Pickle. It's the future.
Are you looking to stay up to date on the latest pickleball news and tips? Look no further than the Sleeve Senior Pickleball Report newsletter. Get the scoop on the sport, learn how to stay healthy while playing, and find out about upcoming tournaments. Subscribe now to get all the pickleball info you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that early, like the first event, obviously attending the event, playing in the event, different experiences. And from anybody that I've talked to, just said, like you said, pretty much knocked it out of the park. I mean, if all these matches that are being live streamed that you don't get to see on other professional tours, that the first event right away, you can watch anybody you really want to watch at any given time on NPL's YouTube channel, which is fascinating and fantastic way to start. So I think that's something that has been desperately missing in some of the other tours, is that you get to watch more than one or two matches. If you have somebody that you are rooting for on a different team that might not be on championship court, you can find them on the channel. That's what I love. Talk a little bit about playing, though, in a location that really is conducive to a good time. Obviously, you're at a pretty cool venue where people can come and hang out. They want to be there. They can come and see professional pickleball. And as I mentioned over and over, if you haven't seen professional pickleball at any level live, it's a completely different game. You get to see the skill set, the athleticism, and plus you get to relate to people who may not be 22 years old and people who are still doing this thing at a very high level. So talk about playing at Chicken and Pickle a little bit.
Oh man, I tell you, we're going to see the trend, I believe, in competitive pickleball go more and more indoors.
I agree.
So it's the venues that are popping up all over the place now. And let's face it, all these are venues that we're doing this summer and in the early fall is down south, and it's hot and humid. Yeah. And to play in air conditioning and to play in stable environments and have a schedule that's pretty spot on is I think the way it's going to happen. I mean, look at all the pro tournaments that have rain delays, or they got to go find indoor facilities. So I think that is probably the thing that it's that we're going to see happen more and more in the future of the pickleball. But the venue, the venues are incredible. To go to these tournaments and say, and to when we talk about how we're treated as professionals, it's literally red carpet. We show up Friday, they feed us a meal. It's a chicken and pickles. They're fantastic meals. We socialize. And like you said, we're friends on and off the court, and then to have the whole venue and everything just about the champion pros or senior pros has just been worth it in itself. And I know a lot of players are just psyched about that. But you can't beat the controlled atmosphere of indoor air conditioning down south in the summertime.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think that is the future of this game, because when things become more and more high stakes, more and more money being invested into this sport, you don't want to have delays. And, those people who are in this tour and playing in other Champions Tour events have experience, obviously playing high level paddle sports prior to playing pickleball. They know what works and what doesn't work. And I think collectively, y'all have a wealth of knowledge, a breadth of knowledge that really is, something to be learned from people who are trying to get into this game, whether it be developing a league or a tour or just tournaments in general. So let's talk about you as a player as we wind this up. Obviously, you're turning pro, I believe, in 2021 playing pickleball. You play singles, you play mixed, you play gender. Talk about the transition from tennis for you in particular, and what you've kind of figured out about yourself in your game to move forward.
Yeah, I think just myself coming into it as a tennis player, obviously singles was the easiest course to come in. And being a ball striker, of hitting a tennis ball and ball striking a pickleball has some similarities, but let me tell you, the journey's been real in doubles.
Oh yeah.
It's been real. And And so even when coming into the MPL, I knew that it was just doubles only. As much as I'd love to see a dream breaker decided by some singles by us old folks, it's not going to happen. So the journey has been quite real in the doubles, but each one of the events, singles, mixed, and gender doubles, are a beast of their own. They're different, and that's what's cool about it, is that that you're going to pick up, and regardless if you come from tennis, and many of my partners haven't come from the tennis background.
Yeah.
And I get some funky looking strokes at times, but it works. And they know how to compete, and they know how to grind, and they know how to put some English on that ball that I just don't see it work and coming from the tennis world. But so no, that is what's the coolest thing, is seeing the different sports, and that these NPL players have come out of. They've played softball, like Teresa Tarn, that's on my team. Or I remember playing my first mixed tournament with someone who reached out to me, and that was Amy Yarbrough, and we connected over the phone, and she said she played college basketball, and I was so excited to come play with a gal that played collegiate basketball. I'm like, man, we're going to own that kitchen line. And then I see her, and I was expecting like a forward or a center. She's a little point guard, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I tell you, but having that athlete there with that footwork and that mentality, and people coming in from different phases in life, it's just been awesome. So yeah, I just can't say enough for people who want to get in to this sport, to take it to play at the highest level. They can come from many backgrounds, but the biggest thing that I'm finding in pickleball is not your ball striking abilities, but it's your mental toughness and your mental stability, because you are going to be challenged in that area. It's a chess match to try to find out what you need to do to win that match across the net from you. And you might hit the best topspin roll or stuff, but you might not ever see that kind of ball, because they don't give you that kind of shot. So it's that mental proudness that's these champion pros. I'm just got a respect for them that they have. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit the head of the nail right there. Is doubles is layers, it seems to me. I've just been playing under 2 years, and it's chess, and then it's chess beyond chess. So it's interesting to watch. A suggestion for you guys and gals that love singles is maybe the dream breaker could be skinny singles.
No, let's bring the whole thing in. So but actually, now that we've experienced it in the MPL, where they've done a team breaker, is what we call it, and we're rotating in once a team gets ahead by 2 points, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11, and the ability to come back. And there's a lot of that's pretty exciting. And we're this league each weekend is just going to see and more and more drama unfold, and I just got to think that the players that are not maybe the top tier players, but maybe the lines 2, 3, and 4, hanging around this whole environment, we're going to see the level of play when we get to October in Phoenix. That's just going to be it's going to be rocking the house, and it's going to be exciting just to be a part of and just watch the journey as my teammates and the other teams come forward. So the build and this building out for the next couple of years of adding more teams, I do know that the West Coast, there was a lot of players that from Washington, Oregon, California, that I know that aren't in it, and there are so many good senior pro players out there that I just think the expansion of teams is not going to be diluting our product at all.
No.
We have so many other people coming into the sport. And unfortunately, a lot of 49-year-olds chomping at the bit to jump in next year. So
that's the thing. You have an endless farm system. I mean, when you start getting some of these big recognizable names who are playing open pro and they're in their 40s now and they'll be in their 50s. I mean, that just automatically, it's free marketing because you gain some of this name recognition every year as this sport continues to grow. So I just see NPL becoming this unbelievable success because not only is it, well run and you have people who are unbelievably grateful and talented playing, but it's just an endless supply of people coming in who haven't even entered the game, like you mentioned, or are already playing. In years from now, they'll have infrastructure that is being built for them right now to go on, just like, golf and tennis both have. So
yeah, it's going to be exciting, and it's also for me at this particular time, this window might not be open very long, and so I'm just going to enjoy the ride, enjoying the experience that I can get. So
absolutely,
and don't take any days for granted, for sure. So
right on. So let's get you out of here. Let's talk about some of the people and organizations that are supporting you. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go, Mark?
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate Selkirk and being a Northwest company, and their it's sponsorship with the paddles and the gear, and again, my ability to travel the nation and it's Tyson McGuffin signature camps and be able to be a part of that. And Kyle McKenzie, who's got one of the best minds in pickleball.
K-Mac.
Yep, K-Mac's the stud. And also another Northwest guy I got to give a shout out to is Wes Gabrielson. I mean, that guy is 37 and been already inducted to the Pickleball Hall of Fame. I mean, it's just, it's those guys have had some pretty big impacts for me, and I just really appreciate the people it's been. But I cannot leave out, my family, my wife, who's just given me this opportunity to have my second chance and to go. And I'm just grateful for her and to God for my health. So there's a lot to be thankful for. So
absolutely. Hey, Mark, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with us. Best of luck in Kansas City. I will be there at least for one of the sessions on my way through to see my sister in the Midwest and my parents. So I look forward to meeting you in person.
Okay, likewise.
Hope you enjoyed our chat with Mark. Again, check out our newsletter for updates almost daily. All right. Hey, let's pickle. Hey, if you're looking for very, very comfortable court shoes, in fact, the most comfortable court shoes I've ever worn, and I've worn a lot of them over the years playing different sports, try Fitville. We have a link in the description that gets you $20 off your purchase.